Hey, Julia Barzyk here from Wise Investigator. So, are you hesitating to reach out to program officers at funding organizations because you don't feel ready? So, if so, then listen up. I'm going to talk about that. You are ready. I believe that you are ready, and I'm going to try to convince you of that. Well, we want to be respectful of people in our personal and professional lives, and one way we can do that is by not wasting other people's time. So not wanting to waste someone's time is one of the top reasons that I hear for PIs not reaching out to program officers. Again, you just don't want to waste someone's time. And if you don't have something that you feel is well prepared or is enough to say, then you feel like you could be wasting their time. And that's something you want to avoid. But let's think about this a little bit differently. When you have these conversations, you're going to get information that's going to end up saving time, not just for you, but also for the program officer and many other people. Because think about this, when you don't reach out and you don't learn, hey, perhaps that's your idea or something about your team or your experience to date is not really suitable for this opportunity, then you go ahead and you prepare a proposal. Not only do you have to do all of the work to prepare the proposal, the team in your research office who submits these grants is going to have to do the supporting work and get that actually submitted for you. Then that's going to have to be processed within the funding organization, then go to someone like a program manager who has to assign evaluations. Those reviewers are going to perform evaluations. That's going to come back and have to be synthesized by the program officer. And the decision's going to have to be made, and if it's declined, then they're going to have to send a notification out for that. So this is a huge amount of work for many, many people. And by learning that your idea is not a fit, you can save that work from, prevent that work from even happening, and you put your time into something that has more potential for a payoff. If you have a conversation and it turns out that your idea could be a good fit, you're still going to be saving time because you're going to be able to address the priorities and concerns of the funder. Earlier in the process, you'll have a smoother time preparing the proposal. The reviewers may have a smoother time reading and understanding your proposal, and the whole thing is just going to go more smoothly. You may not be asked to perform a response to comments, right, if you don't have a lot of negative or concerned comments on that proposal. So whether you end up submitting or not, it's going to save a lot of time by having these conversations, especially when they tell you they would not encourage you to submit. Another reason why PIs hesitate to reach out is because they're afraid of asking a, quote, dumb question. And there really are no dumb questions, because when you're talking about any kind of process to get funding, there is a lot of variability, even with an organization like NSF, where there are many different programs, and what is normal and standard for one type of program at NSF, it may not be the same as another program. And of course, we're in a period of many changes now. So just because the review process was one way in the past, it doesn't mean that it's going to be that way in the future. And if you've had experience with one funder, of course, it can be very different process at another funder. So even when someone says something as common as a white paper, it is totally normal to ask the person you're speaking with, do you mean a one-pager? Are there formatting requirements? Would I have a list of references and figures, or is this just a short paragraph? These are all good questions that you should be asking. And even with all of the experience that I have in funding, if someone asked me to submit a white paper, the first thing I would ask would be, of what length? What are you looking for in that? Sometimes they would like you to put some background information and context in the white paper if it's going to be reviewed by people from a range of disciplines. However, other people say, don't provide any background. This is going to be reviewed by me, and I am a technical expert in this area, so I don't need all of that context. So no matter how long you've been in the game, you're always going to want to ask that question. So that is an example of something that's not a dumb question. It's not a dumb question to ask. Can I have a conversation with the funder before whatever part of the process starts, or after this process has started? Could I still ask questions? There are different answers to all of those questions. So You are not expected to know that going in. And again, it changes regularly. So you always want to be asking those questions. Actually asking those questions is going to show that you are informed and you're going to look smart. You're not going to look dumb. Another reason why you may hesitate to reach out to the funder is that you don't feel that your idea is that developed. Well, I can tell you from working with PIs for many, many years that you all have lots of good ideas. It is not a problem one thing that is not a problem is PIs not having enough ideas for research they want to do. Now, it is true that sometimes those ideas are not fully developed. Of course, they're not all fully developed because you're always having new ideas. And you have a new idea and it's just an idea and then you develop it bit by bit by bit. So some of those new ideas that are undeveloped, those could be your most promising ideas because there may be the ideas you had very recently. So just don't worry about this either. You can absolutely get on a call and say, I haven't developed this idea fully, but what I'm thinking about is something along these lines. That is a great question to ask. So that's another one that you don't need to worry about because it's not good when you're submitting a proposal with a 15-page narrative and all the other documents that everyone has supported you on preparing and has been processed, and your idea is not fully developed. That's not great. But you are nowhere near the stage of writing a proposal when you have these initial conversations. So just don't worry about that either. People are excited to talk about all different kinds of ideas in many different stages of development. Now, another one, and I do understand this concern, is that you don't want to make what could be considered a bad impression with the person because you want to perhaps have the opportunity to continue to pursue funding from their program. And you think, well, if I'm not really prepared, then what if they think I asked a dumb question or they think my idea is not developed and they overall think I'm not a very intelligent or successful PI? Then when I do feel more prepared and I come in with something later, they may already have a bias against me from a bad memory of an interaction with you. Well, another one that you don't need to worry about. One, it's possible that the person will not even remember you because they may be dealing with a lot of inquiries and a lot of meetings. It really depends how many people they deal with. If they have a small program in a niche area, then they very well, most likely will remember you. But if they're dealing with dozens of inquiries a week, then they may not remember you. Either way, it doesn't matter. You're going to make a much worse impression when you submit a proposal that is not well prepared. Has a lot of typos, it's a not developed idea, you're not addressing the evaluation criteria, there are sections that are not addressed or parts that are not developed, even if, say, the technical part is developed and you are supposed to develop some educational plans and you've got something really generic there that's totally underdeveloped. Those are the kinds of things that make not a great impression because at that point you've asked a lot of people to do a lot of work on something that you didn't necessarily put your best effort into. And that is looked upon much less favorably than someone just saying, hey, can I have a conversation? Because again, conversations can be had at all different stages of idea development. So again, I think there's many other reasons why you may be hesitating to reach out, but whatever those reasons are, I encourage you just get over that fear, gather up the courage, go ahead and do it. The only thing that's going to make this easier, like a lot of things in life, is just getting up there and doing it. When you were first learning to teach, maybe in grad school, and you had to get up in front of a class of people that when you weren't not even that much older than they were, and be an expert and present to them. And that could have been a very nerve-wracking experience. It was certainly an unusual experience for me when I started teaching when I was in graduate school. But then you think about that you do that often and you think about what that is for you now. And that's just something that you're doing multiple times per week, right? And it's not something that is causing you that same kind of stress. It's still something you need to prepare for and something that you take seriously, but not an anxiety-inducing experience as it might have been when you started out. So this is the same thing. The only thing that's going to make it easier for you is to just do it. You're going to get some good results. You're going to have some good conversations, and then it's going to be smooth sailing. So as we wrap up the semester, now is a good time. It's always a good time, okay? But now, like all other times, now is a good time to do this outreach. So just, gather up the courage, be strong. You are strong. You can do this. You've done much harder things in your career up until this point. I know you have. So this is just one more thing to just go ahead and do it, and it will get easier.